Hey, Linda. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good
How are
morning.
you doing?
It takes a little while for it to be connected, though.
Yeah, I was running a little late this morning. I was sending emails and texts back and forth to Sharita and Sabrina. We're trying to get
It's
some.
okay.
Yeah.
More.
Anyway.
Try it and get in. Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna go through this class pretty quick today because
Okay.
right at about 12 o'clock, I need to shut this down because I need to go to the Benson Center. Okay, but I will be back at 2. Okay, but I have a whole bunch of stuff to share with you guys today, and we're going to talk about some interesting folks. Okay.
Good.
So you should enjoy some of this. Okay.
All right.
And actually, let's see. Let's go ahead and get started. All right. So let's start with this guy. Because I had no idea who this guy was. And somebody mentioned him here last week. So I took some time and looked him up. And, happily, he's got some nice stuff. And I think it would be well worth the time you guys really taking some look, a good look at it. This is Walter Anderson, okay, who Bob had mentioned last week. And like I said, I was really not familiar with him, right, as a painter. And as I understand it, he went to Parsons School of Art, and then he went to the Philadelphia Academy as well. But he was born and raised around New Orleans and ended up settling there. Kind of was a lifelong resident of New Orleans, it seemed. And, he has a very kind of eclectic, kind of whimsical style to him, but beautiful stuff. Really wasn't that familiar with him, like I said. And anyway, so I just wanted to kind of show you a couple of his paintings if you hadn't really looked him up by now. But again, if we look at his artwork and we start talking about what these paintings are and how they kind of fit in, to the scheme of, are they representational? Are they abstract? What are they? And, in many ways, they're representational as far as you can tell, what these, characters, the different animals, flowers, things like that are. And yet they have sort of a kind of a almost primitive, abstract quality to them, don't they? They're not like trying to fool you into believing that there's depth or distance, in these paintings. They're sort of flat, colorful patterns, but really nice stuff. It's a little pixelated.
Are these, what kind of paint? Is that a watercolor, color pencil, or acrylic?
Oh, well, I think some of them were watercolor, and then others I think are oil paint. And, when you start looking at the surfaces and things on some of these, it gets, fairly textural and kind of rough, where others are thinner and the color is more, translucent or transparent. Kind of like this piece, this is probably more of a watercolor. But, really nicely designed, very intentional placement of things, nice use of color. Now this looks more like a print of some kind of like a serigraph, because it is so graphic.
Oh, yeah.
But again, he was a very good, strong, strong designer. Seeing shapes, patterns, things like that, and used them very well. But some really, really nice stuff. Again, now this looks kind of like a watercolor, right? You know, the media looks transparent, and the way that some of the color sort of runs in and fuses together, again, is very reminiscent of like watercolor, like in these areas right in here. So that's my guess, is that they are, in fact, well, that one in particular is watercolor. But some of these appear to be prints, you know. The lines are, you know, too mechanical, too straight, too clean to really be, you know, just a painted surface. And that doesn't seem to be really his style in painting. So I would say that some of these are probably actual like lithographs or silkscreen prints, you know, like this piece, and then the piece up here, like the bird. I'm pretty sure that both of those are prints.
That look like a
Looks like to me that it could be something you use it for a border, for wallpaper.
Yeah. Yeah, you could. I think he did a couple of well, different art catalogs and books and things like that. Too bad that one's kind of small, but that kind of gives you an idea. Yeah, this piece. Now, again, you know, look at how he uses, you know, these very kind of graphic shapes and simplifies everything. Again, it looks kind of like a water media, not an oil or anything like that. And it looks kind of spontaneous, but really nice movement, really nice design to it. Fun use of color. Let's see if this one blows up any better than the other one did. A little bit. Okay. That's the problem in getting things off the internet. Sometimes you get things that, you know, aren't the highest resolution. Now that this one's a little bit different. Now this looks a little more like a painting, you know, like an oil painting or an acrylic or something. And this one, again, could be a print, could be a painting. I'm not quite sure which, but you know, he's put in a lot of texture in sort of these transitions, and some of that might just be the pixelation of the image. But kind of reminds me of some of like the real graphic stuff out of the arts and crafts period, like William Morris, you know, his prints and things. And this, that was a ceramic piece. Now, somehow, this was like a GIF or something like that, and it played. It showed you multiple images, but it's not going to do it on Zoom. Yeah. Some blue crabs. Again, looks like blue jays. And there's this piece. And this is really, you know, out of all the work that I've seen him do, this is one of my favorite pieces of him because it really is so reminiscent of like an arts and crafts, like William Morris piece or something like that. You know, but really nice idea, you know, beautiful design, kind of flowing, kind of sweeping lines to it. And then, yeah, the reflections, you know, water rippling. So you see, they get, you know, almost, you know, abstract in nature. So anyway, that was Walter Anderson. While we've got him up there, anybody got any questions or have anything to say about his work?
Yeah, Charles, I just got on. This is Wanda. Can
Yay.
you show the picture of that horse again?
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a ceramic piece.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Take a shot.
So
at that.
he seemed to work, in a lot of different medium, prints, drawings, watercolors, oils. So he kind of tried a lot of different stuff. Always, really good stuff. And the thing that kind of strikes me about his work is his use of color, because it's kind of like primary and secondary colors that he mainly relies on. And he doesn't manage color the way that a lot of traditional painters do.
I've been trying to get on for about 20 minutes. Who are we talking about? The painter that did the trees that you showed just a minute ago?
His name is Walter Anderson, and he lived in New Orleans. And just as a brief review, he went to Parsons School of Design and also to the Philadelphia Academy. So, he went to some good schools, and got some good, solid, design training behind him. And it really shows in his work. If you look at a body of his work, all of his pieces are really nicely designed compositions. And that's, this, and I'm guessing this is a watercolor. But the way that he sort of shapes and breaks up the colors. And again, it's this sort of dance, back and forth between and stylized in his work. But he's got some beautiful stuff. These birds, were real strong. And now this looks, more like a oil or maybe an acrylic, just at the surface. When I started off with. But, for the most part, his focus as far as what he's sort of using in his art as, elements to work with are, from nature, trees, things you would be more or less familiar with living down there in Louisiana. Okay. So anyway, that was Walter Anderson. Anybody got any other comments about his stuff? No? Does that inspire anybody to go out and try something like that?
Yeah, I liked it. I like the stuff that was in there. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this is
I
Bob.
like lots of color.
Yeah, Bob.
I enjoyed the time that I tried to work on some of his abilities. It was very interesting. A lot of those, like the crabs and that kind of stuff, I think he did when he was alone on an island somewhere off of the coast that he would travel to on a regular basis, and he would live under his boat just out in the wild. So he was an interesting character.
Yeah. Nah, and in reading about him, he was an interesting character. That's a good way of saying that. And so that being the theme of this class today, interesting characters, I picked another interesting character from really the same part of the country. Okay. In fact, I have three artists from the same part of the country. They're all from the South, right? And this next guy that I'm going to share with you, his name is George Ohr, O-H-R. And he was a potter. Okay. Now, George billed himself as the crazy potter from Biloxi. And he lived in Biloxi, Mississippi. Again, though, George was one of these fellows who was well-trained. He went to a really good art school. I'm trying to remember which one it was. But you know, a very highly skilled, trained potter. And he opened up a pottery studio in Biloxi, Mississippi. And, you know, one of his things, as you know, artists often do, is, you know, they kind of take on a persona. There's George. Like I said, he built himself as the crazy potter from Biloxi.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Of the league.
yeah. But I mean, you know, on his you know, at his pottery, you know, outside the building, you know, he had a sign hanging that says, you know, buy a souvenir from Biloxi before the artist dies.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
And, you know, that kind of gives you some insight into, you know, his particular personality. But, you know, in looking at him, he kind of reminds me of a friend of Bartlett. You know, he and Bo kind of look alike a little bit. But, you know, George lived, let's see, 1857 to 1918.
Uh-huh.
Now, there's kind of a story about George. You know, he was doing these really, really intricate, really nice, you know, pieces of pottery. And the thing that made him kind of unique from other potters were his glazes. Nobody else could get those glazes like he did. And so, you know, that's the thing people really admired about his work. And, you know, he had gotten to a point where he was, you know, pretty much so nationally famous, you know, for his work. And unfortunately, tragedy struck, and his pottery burnt down. And it had a lot of his work in it. And, you know, after the fire, you know, he found a lot of pottery pieces that looked something like this. Yeah. Because literally the heat of the fire had melted them, you know, and distorted a lot of the pieces that he had done. And he actually kind of liked that. And really, pretty much so for the rest of his life, he really disfigured, distorted base. But he was pretty prolific. He ended up doing over 10,000 pieces in his life.
Wow.
You know, now that's a lot of pots to throw and glaze and everything. But you know, pretty amazing stuff. And again, you know, look at the colors.
That's gorgeous. That is
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just all the little subtle changes, you know, in color.
Besides that, I think his handles, most of the potters use these a heavy type of handle, and I know all of his handles have been much more graceful.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of lacy.
Instead of bulky and chunky.
Pardon?
I said instead of bulky and chunky like most of the potters, his were kind of graceful, thin.
Yeah.
The handles.
Yeah.
Even though they weren't used probably as handles. But the decorative part of the pot, and the colors in that, the gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I took up a crafting class with glazing and stuff, and to come up with these colors,
yeah,
is really absolutely a wonderful thing to do. So evidently he started that whole phase of these blended colors for them to come out looking marble-ish or whatever the thing might be.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that.
Yeah, his work, you know, when you look at a lot of the potteries from around that time, and there's a lot of them, because he was like right in the midst of the American arts and crafts movement, and you know, and producing pottery. And so like Arequipa pottery and Rookwood, you know, a lot of these, you know, arts and crafts potteries were producing, you know, some beautiful glazes. But his stuff was really unique, you know, in the sense that it was so colorful and modeled and just kind of organic feeling, where a lot of theirs were, you know, they may be like 2 colors or 3 colors that sort of transition
Sort of boring. His was not boring at all.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call any of their work boring.
Well, boring, but you know, colorful things really catch your eyes.
Right.
Look at that. Look at that. My gosh.
Yeah, they
it's
were nothing
beautiful.
like this.
What's the scale of these? How large?
I really don't know. You know, I really don't know how big they are. I'm guessing that some of them are fairly small, and then this piece I would guess would be, you know, kind of a medium to large size piece.
It's almost a candlestick size.
Yeah, probably a little bigger than that, I would think. But if you look at this, you know, again, the glazes and how it really kind of works really nicely with the form, and his forms are pretty unusual. You know, there's always something a little different about his stuff. Again, you know, that's that kind of melted sort of, you know,
But
piece.
it took on a good shape anyway. Oh, those are nice too.
Now, let's see. He's got a piece in there. These are not
Hey,
all.
those look different.
Yeah. Now these again, this is kind of that typical arts and crafts style.
Right.
And I think his is this piece right back here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But again, you know, when I'm talking about comparing it to other arts and crafts pottery, you know, that's kind of what was being done, you know, at that time. And again, you know, you look at his pieces and they look, you know, in many ways kind of futuristic, you know, compared to the other kind of traditional arts and crafts pieces that kind of worked more off of nature, you know, florals and animals and things like that. You don't really relate to anything really out of nature other than kind of the organic feel of the color of the surface. There's a really beautiful piece. You know, it's real subtle, but again, look at the handles.
Yeah.
You know, and what he did with the handle. And again, you know, this is just a thin slab of clay that he's taken and he's folded. And because he's folded it and attached it, you know, at 5 different points here, that gives that handle a lot of stability on that piece.
I wonder how
But
many
it's so light
layers of
looking,
glaze
not
did he
awful
use
lot
to
of
get that
fibers.
design?
I'm sorry, what, Wanda?
I wonder how many layers of glaze did he had to use to get that design on
I'm
there?
not really sure. You know, I'm guessing and looking at some of these that they were multiple firings.
Yeah.
You know, I doubt very seriously that, you know, I mean, he probably put a base and say like either that green or that red was the base, and then he'd come back and add more color to it and then refire it and, you know, just kind of work in layers.
I had this pot that when I put the glaze on it, in the glaze were these little tiny rocks like. And
Yeah.
once you put them on, the rocks would burst open into these colors. It was so really pretty.
Yeah, yeah, it was a crystal with glaze.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, and he seemed to have some of that going on if you start looking at the texture of like this piece,
Mhm.
where, you know, there were probably some kind of mineral crystal or something in there to kind of create that texture.
Mhm.
But again, you know, so now you've been introduced to the crazy potter from Biloxi.
Biloxi, Mississippi.
Yeah, Biloxi, Mississippi. Okay. And again, you know, he's a really interesting character. And, you know, when you start talking about art and you start talking about art history, in so many ways, you know, you take artists who are really well known, like Pablo Picasso, for example, Salvador Dali. You know, they kind of take on this persona, whether that's, you know, actually real or not. But you know, they promote it. You know, they promote that, and they, you know, that kind of becomes their thing. You know, and that they're really well known for. And that kind of follows them through their career. So anyway, the next artist that I'm going to share with you is a fellow by the name of, let's see, is this Romare Bearden? Yeah. 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 All right. So this is Romare Bearden. And I think you've probably heard me talk about him in the past. Brought him up a couple of different times. So I thought I would
Romare.
Romare
Oh, man.
Bearden. Okay. Now he was primarily he was a collage artist, a graphic designer. Did a wide variety of things. But always, had sort of that, found and reused imagery element in his work. And so he worked with a lot of photography and stuff like that he would take and find in, different books and magazines and things, and he would cut it, collage it together, with paint and papers and all types of different, elements.
What is
Is he from here?
Pardon?
Is he from here?
Bearden was actually, I think he was born in Birmingham,
Oh, okay.
Alabama.
Looks familiar to me.
Yeah. And Bearden ended up in Chicago, I believe.
Yeah, from North Carolina.
What, is it North Carolina? Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, all of the artists today come from the South. Okay. We're doing a Southern artist tour.
Okay.
So these are all people, from, right around here. Okay. This is the next, this is a mural, and this was done in tiles. Okay. So he took one of, his collages, and then he translated it into, the actual tiles that I believe this is in the Chicago metro system. It's a public art.
Tell him he needs to move.
Tell him he needs to move.
So we can see the art.
painting.
That's what she's talking about.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, he's not going anywhere. He has unfortunately passed away.
Oh, that's
So
sad.
he's no longer with us.
No, 1988.
Yeah, but he did some really amazing work.
Yeah, he did a lot.
They had a huge exhibit for him at the High Museum, and it lasted quite a while.
Yeah, it
He's
was.
Oh,
Yeah, it
known
was.
for his collages.
Yeah, it was up for about 3 months.
Hmm.
But for African American artists, he's probably one of the better known African American artists, particularly for kind of contemporary art.
You got any pictures of him, of his art, without him standing in front of it,
I
so
was
we
about
can
to
see
ask that. Yeah.
basic piece?
Are you not seeing the different?
No,
I see
just him.
little small
Just him.
splotches, of the birch tree and of the figure in the back of him and like a palm
Leaves. Mhm.
but not a complete piece per se.
Let's see. Am I? Oh, I'm sure. I'm sorry. I'm sharing the wrong one.
Oh, okay.
Okay. No, this is Carrie. Anyway, here. Let's stop that. I've been showing. Yeah. Let's get the right one. Sorry about that. Yeah. Do this guy right here. All right. Is that different?
I see you.
Like,
Should be the figure laying on,
okay.
on like a
Laying
bed.
on the couch. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You guys must have thought I was crazy or something. Wow.
I couldn't figure it out, but
I'm glad somebody asked.
Yeah, is this still Charles Ramir Burton?
No, this is actually Romir Beard. Okay. The other,
Okay.
yeah, the thing you were seeing before, we'll talk about him. You know, we're not
Okay.
talking about him yet. Anyway, this is Bearden's work.
oh, okay.
Okay.
That does make a little bit of a difference.
Right.
Now,
Like I said, he would use like a lot of like found and recycled sort of crystals and things, and then incorporate that into his work. And he did a lot of things about like Black culture, in this,
Right.
particularly around Chicago and the areas that he lived in.
we want to study Charles Coggins' art too.
Not really. Let me die and get famous first. Right.
Oh, that's a big mural. I think it might be in the subway or something.
Later.
See, then you guys can all say, I knew that guy.
No, you're gonna get famous first and die later.
But Charles, I'm gonna die before you.
Pardon?
I'm gonna die before you.
Well, let's hope not. Okay.
Don't put that out there in the
Older
atmosphere.
than you.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the mural I was talking about.
Yeah. Is this in the subway or something like
Yeah,
that?
this is in the Chicago metro system.
Okay.
So it's a big public piece of art.
Yeah.
There's another
I like that one.
kind of collage piece.
Except for the head.
You guys had to have thought that I was crazy or something.
Can you go back to that last picture, Charles?
This one right here?
No, the other one. Yeah, that one there.
That one.
Okay.
The cat is mad.
Yeah, the cat is kind of a lion. It's all kind of an African sort of theme, and looks more like a lion than a domestic. What'd you say, Armando?
I say, yeah, it's a lion.
No, okay. All right, everybody had enough of that one? Can we move on?
That's where you started.
Now again, I think the thing that you could say, with all the images that we've seen today, is that for the most part, none of these artists are really trying to fool your eye, right? They're not trying to give you the illusion of reality or depth or anything. They're more symbolic. It's more ideas, that they're using. Same thing here.
Are these still collages or
Yes.
part painting, part collage?
Well, they're part painting, part collage, a lot of different like found elements and things that he used. And if you looked at like a lot of his later work, he would find the original image, and then he would take that and then blow it up mechanically, like these photographs of these faces and things, to fit the scale and the format that he was working on the piece. And a lot of these are really quite large. They're 4 or 5 feet, either wide or tall. A lot of the initial images and things were probably done fairly small as studies, and then he took those elements and he blew them up and had them reproduced, and then actually physically built the painting, once he had a lot of these images to the scale that he wanted.
I see 2 or 3 notes. Like by the face, it says say okay here, and then it says green up something.
Yeah, he would use like all kinds of things, letters, his own handwriting, paint, different textures.
Look how large the hand is of, I'm assuming that's a lady's hand.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to her.
Right.
He's standing back of him, and yet the hand is so far forward, doesn't look like it should belong to her.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, you know, he's not really trying to give you,
Representational, he's just,
yeah, he's not trying to give you this illusion of depth or anything. You know, he's using these elements, you know, in scales and proportions so that they sort of fit together, and they're kind of symbolic, but they're not really representational or real. Okay? That's, you know, so he's
Right.
not worried about anatomical accuracy or anything here. It's more about the emotion and feeling to the piece. So a lot of these things, you know, are intentionally sort of distorted.
right.
Yeah, if you look, you know, like this piece, you know, there's a lot of different faces in there, and you start looking at the scales and proportions of them, and they don't have anything really to do with where those figures sit in the picture plane.
No, and they're not, nothing is related, like the left-hand side of the on the bottom is not related really to the, suppose the center of interest in the top
Mm-hmm.
to the right of the,
Yeah.
This is a collage, right? Not a painting, though.
Well, yes, it is. It's a mixed media piece. Okay. So there are elements that are painted, and there are elements that are collaged. And then there's elements where he's mixed paint or fabric or something and added that into the piece. So there's a lot of different layers to it.
Thank you.
Now again, I think this is a pretty good sized painting. You know, it's a large piece.
Interesting.
And here he is.
That's Ramir Burden.
Yeah.
Bearden. Okay.
Yep. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing, you know, if you look at each of these artists that we're looking at, every one of them have, you know, a very distinctive sort of unique style, you know, to their work. If you look at their work or see very much of it, you begin to sort of pick up, you know, that it is theirs.
Their
and
style.
even though they may change some of the elements or some of the techniques, it still feels uniquely theirs.
Mm-hmm. You know, I've seen his work, but I didn't know who this person was.
Uh-huh. Yeah. There's a little card I put together on him. So,
Okay.
so he went to New York University. Let's see. Oh, okay, yeah. Born in Charlotte, died in New York, not Chicago. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. And the thing, you know, that I think the thing that really kind of brought him to sort of public notice was that, you know, he was doing things about, you know, American Black culture, but he kind of centered around, you know, the theme of music in a lot of his pieces. And they were always very colorful. There was a lot of movement to them. Again, you know, another collage piece.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah, the colors in this are really warm and kind of
Even the moon.
they give you a good feel, you know, to the piece.
Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah. Again, another one of his mural pieces. I think it may be the same mural.
it is,
Yeah, it
because I
is.
recognize the people,
Yeah,
The workers. The
yeah,
workers.
just shot from a different angle.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's taking a section of the, small section of it.
And then
That's different. Yeah. Different. Soldiers.
Now this one is a different mural.
Yeah, soldiers.
Right.
Like the Civil War.
I think it's got a blend, the British, and then you see the
Yeah,
French.
I think it was
French
about
thing
the
there
Revolutionary
too.
War.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So anyway, there's Romare Bearden. All right.
Yeah.
So let's move on. It's getting down to the point where I can't make a mistake now because
Oh, that was fun.
yeah, I've only got one more. Sorry about that. Harry Marshall. Yeah.
Robert Holmes.
Robert Homer.
Down here.
Robert Homer. I was gonna start with Robert Homer.
Yeah. So I'm going to put up this card I created on Carey. And so, you know, basically, yeah, he was born in Birmingham, grew up in South Central Los Angeles, and moved to Chicago. He studied at the School of Art and Design, University of Illinois in Chicago. He graduated in 1978, and he's still alive. As far as we know.
Right, yay.
Okay. You know, and in looking at his work, again, you know, he shares a lot of things in common with Bearden and you know, Anderson and even Orr, in the sense his work is very, very contemporary. You know, there's really no problem in placing, you know, the time in which he lived and worked. So it's very distinctive of now, right? Oh, wait. Let's see. Let's cancel that. Okay. I hit the wrong button.
Harry James Marshall, yeah.
All right. Did you see a picture of him standing in front of a large painting?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, good.
What you solved was the mistake.
Yeah. Okay.
I noticed it on the picture when I look on Google.
Yeah.
And I said, well,
Okay.
he came when he got old.
Yeah. Well, he's was 64, I guess, at the time that was published. So, but again, you know, now he's a bit more of a kind of a traditional painter, you know, and not really using like a lot of collaged elements or anything in his work. But again, you know, he's a little more like Anderson, in that everything is, you know, very carefully designed in his paintings. You know, all the shapes. You know, so everything is pretty intentional. Now, one of the big differences, you know, between, I think, you know, like he and Anderson, obviously their subject matter is totally different, but also, you know, he tends to paint in these kind of very graphic, kind of flat style. So he's laying down, you know, big blocks and shapes of color that kind of butt up against other colors, you know, that are slightly different values, you know, to begin to create this illusion of form. You know, he's not going back in and trying to blend all the edges or anything. It seems, you know, very sort of clean. And again, you know, he's not trying to fool your eye. Though,
Look, the first thing I see of those folds you just had that arrow on, they're almost all exactly alike in that sleeve right there. Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Yeah, these are a little repetitive to me. So he could have done better there.
That's the first thing that came to me.
Did it? Okay. Yeah, believe me, you know, there's never been a piece of artwork ever done that couldn't be better. You know, they can all be improved. So,
Yeah.
It's,
two things, you don't know how to improve them and when to stop sometimes. They're two big solutions to you can't come across.
Yeah, that's always the struggle is knowing when to stop.
This I love. Who is that?
Yeah, same artist. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's very striking.
Yeah, notice that, she's sitting there with this very large palette, kind of holding on to it, and, where this arm is coming from is kind of odd, but again, you still get the idea of her holding the palette and the brush. And then look behind her, and, it's a big paint by number,
Oh, that's what that is, yeah.
But he's done it for like an illustration with the I think the skin color is all solid, and then he's got the colors of the blouse and the painting back there. It's very striking, though, I think, to me.
Yeah, his work is, I really like his work a lot.
Yeah.
And again, very strong in, as a designer, and there are painters who are very painterly and use great color and stuff like that. And then there are people who are like really, really strong designers as well. And he's, I think his strength in his work, uses some beautiful color, but at the same time, I think his real strong suit is design and how he designs his paintings and layers them and creates this interesting kind of play between the figures and how they fit together, in the image.
Yeah, those words on that paper is a Temptation song.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. Just my imagination.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, that's nice too. I like that.
Now, the one thing you can say about, where, like, Anderson wasn't really trying to create this sense of depth, this illusion, this guy, Marshall, does. He mutes and changes color, and look at, these cooler colors and how they recede and they move back in the background. And then all of the more intense, warmer colors come forward. And, we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
And so this is a good illustration or example of, he's using those colors very intentionally to get parts of the painting to, sink back, other things to move forward. There you go. And again, if you begin to look at the different elements, in this painting,
Now, this is part painted and part paper paste up.
I'm sorry, what?
Is this part painting and part paste up?
You mean collage? Yeah, he may have some.
I'm talking about paper cutouts.
Yeah, well, I mean, back here, the lettering itself may be collaged on. I don't know whether, like, this is hand cut out and then, pasted over it or not. Could be. I'm sure there's lots of different ways to get there.
Yeah. Just curious which way he got there.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd really have to kind of see the piece, to kind of figure out, what he was doing there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, this looks a little more like a kind of a straightforward painting, but again, in that very kind of graphic style.
Right.
Somebody humming?
Yeah.
Somebody's humming.
Trying to hum the song or something.
Yeah, somebody was humming along there.
I was going to join in.
You were going to join in?
Well, we'll do that. Let's join in.
Are we going to serenade each other this morning?
I hope not.
Hey, this is art inspiration, you know. I mean, you know, we talk about music, you know.
Oh yeah, you can talk about it, but I can't carry a tune, so I don't sing.
Yeah.
I'm with you, Gene.
Yeah.
So Jean's the one that's humming because she can't sing.
No, no, I would be embarrassed.
Yeah.
That humming was good. You wouldn't want to hear mine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good because if you sing, the bug will go away.
All right.
The art sings to me.
Yeah. So this seems to be kind of a large piece.
That's really nice. Yeah.
And again, you know, look at his use of color. You know, how those cooler kind of blue violets and things like that sink back to the background, let the figures kind of move forward.
What really helps out of the whites that he uses in the placement of the whites, or like that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, it's a
And I think the whites help bring out the colors also.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, beautiful contrast.
Yeah.
The painting, again, very strong design.
Very big mural.
Yeah, large piece.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That was the one you showed a close-up of with the music somebody was humming coming out of the
yes.
Yeah, I know. It seemed like, you know, we were looking at just part of it, but actually I think it was a whole nother piece that he took, and then I think it may have started off with this larger piece, and then he kind of cropped in on these two figures.
Well, I love the figures in the crop piece, really.
Yeah, yeah, because it
Yeah.
becomes a different story, you know.
Yeah.
Totally. So.
But this gets
So on
busy for me. It gets too busy and I can't, you know, your eyes move like they're rolling up in like marbles.
I like that when you have a lot to see in a painting.
Yeah.
Since he's Southern, is there a place where he has a permanent exhibit somewhere around here?
I really don't know where. I know he has work in Chicago because that's where he's at now. I don't know where else he would be showing at this point. But
Well, I'm surprised the Birmingham Museum would not have a piece or two of his since he was born there.
yeah, I haven't been over there in a while, but you know, but yeah, I would have to kind of do some research and find out, you know, where he has pieces. But
Yeah.
you could as well. You know, I'm sure you could probably look up, you know, where, you know,
His artwork is shown.
yeah, which museums have pieces in their
Yeah,
collection.
we can do virtual tours now of these museums. So
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Oh.
The funny thing about virtual tours with museums, most museums have such large collections that you really don't get a chance to really get in there and see everything. You know, they sort of focus on certain points or, you know, certain pieces. So it's good, you know, it's better than not, you know, watching those. But I still, you know, I really still like going to a museum. There's nothing like actually being there and kind of meandering around. I'm one of those people, I can get lost in a museum for literally days. You know, if I think there's, you know, good stuff there and that I really want to see. So, again, you know, very graphic photos, approach to the painting. And then this is the last piece that I have of his.
Okay.
Now this, you know, this kind of appears to be on a canvas, but the canvas isn't stretched. It's kind of more like a loose piece of canvas that, you know, he's literally tacked up on the wall.
You roll it out and tack it up.
So again, it kind of breaks that conventional approach of, you've got a stretched canvas and you put it in a frame.
Right.
So,
there's something a little bit disturbing about this one. The other ones I like,
mhm.
but this one looks like 3 different levels of perspective. The carpet on the floor looks like you're looking at it straight down. The sofa is good. It looks like, it's in perspective, but the table in front is kind of at a different angle.
Mhm.
And it's kind of disturbing when you kind of try to absorb everything that's in this one.
Right. Yeah, everything isn't in like, true dimensional linear perspective.
Yeah,
And
if you take off the table and look at the rest of it,
yeah, the tables
the
here,
rug,
yeah, the ellipse here seems to kind of fall more or less in line with the couch, right?
right.
And
Yeah, sort of.
The rug and the table look like 2 added pieces.
yeah, but then when you look at this carpet, then it seems to be, like you said, tipped up, kind of more graphic. And the same is true with some of the other elements in there. But
I like the other pieces better
okay.
myself. Beautiful pieces.
At any rate, so that was Mr. Marshall.
I like this stuff.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, it is 12 o'clock in case you need to go.
Yes. No. Yeah, 1 o'clock just went off. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of a wrap for this morning. I will. Yeah, I will be back here this afternoon at 2 o'clock.
Charles,
Yeah.
before you go, did you see the bubble wrap on Sunday morning? The show Sunday morning yesterday?
I did. And you know what my husband said? My husband's a chemist, and he said that bubble wrap, it's not going to last.
Oh, really?
That bubble wrap will shrink. Yeah, and that artist took a lot of time, but it's not going to last.
Oh, okay. But it could be a fun piece for a month or 2.
Yeah. Not all art, lasts forever. In fact, there was a piece of sculpture that was done out of chocolate.
Oh, wow.
And, it's been in the museum now for, 20 or 30 years. And the thing is,
really?
like the little bugs are eating the chocolate. So now it has.
Part of the art. That's part of the art.
But that was really kind of what the artist intended. He wasn't intending it to be like a permanent long-term piece. And everybody.
If you get a chance, go back and look at that though, because I thought it was very interesting the way he injected the color into the bubble.
The pointillism in the park, that painting, the pointillism in the park, he did a beautiful job, but it's not going to last. That bubble wrap will not last.
Yeah. Well, all right. We're going to end it there. Okay. And like I said, we'll be back at 2 o'clock. And I've got some of your work. The email came up over the weekend intermittently, so I downloaded as much work, as I had, and so that'll be queued up, and we'll talk about things that you've been doing. Okay.
All right, John. See
Hey.
you later.
Bye.
Bye. See you this afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Charles.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I'll be back by 2. Okay. So bye.
Bye.